Aloha. I want to thank you all for coming to this press conference. I'm Colin Kippen, and I'm running for the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. I'm challenging the present chair, Honolulu Poliona, because of her poor management of the office and her outrageous spending that neglects the people who OHA was meant to serve. I am challenging her to debate and defend her record in a publicly televised debate, since all Hawaii voters, and I want to stress that, all Hawaii voters vote for the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, and these voters are in the dark about what is going on at the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. For example, the Office of Hawaiian Affairs has continually rebuked attempts by voters, the public, and the legislature to obtain information about their spending of millions of trust dollars. This last legislative session, OHA successfully lobbied to kill a bill that it would call for an audit. Voters are in the dark and they need to know. OHA's annual budget is approximately $45 million, yet only $4 million are given out through a community grant process. Voters are in the dark and need to know where all the money is going. OHA employs 170 full-time employees, yet provides no direct services to anyone. Voters are in the dark and want to know where their money is going and what these employees are doing. OHA stacked the salary commission with its supporters, including at least one high-level staffer at the office. Predictably, this commission recommended the OHA trustees get a raise. This year, the trustees will get an 18% raise and a 3.5% raise on top of that for each of the next 4 years. These raises come from the public trust. Voters are in the dark and they don't know what these elected officials do. Do these trustees deserve a raise in these times? After questions began to arise about OHA's nation-building expenditures, OHA hired consultant Richard Pizzullo, a former employee, who then made approximately $70,000 a year. He's now being hired at $120 an hour. That's $240,000 annually. A second consultant was also hired at the rate of $95 an hour. Their job is to recode and recharacterize OHA's past expenditures for 2005, 2006, and 2007. Pizzullo is not an accountant. Pizzullo has unfettered access to OHA's Oracle system, which is where all the financial records are kept. OHA's controlling fiscal officer, Barry Stewart, raised questions about changing the records after the fact, and he was asked to resign. He is no longer employed at OHA. He, like all other employees, is an at-will employee who may be fired without cause or reason. Pizzullo continues to have unfettered access to OHA's records and works on them daily. Is OHA doctoring the books after the fact so that their nation-building expenses will appear less than they actually were? Voters are in the dark and need to know. OHA has been spending approximately $100,000 to $120,000 every 9 to 12 months for Kapi'olani t-shirts. Is this a good expenditure of public funds? Voters are in the dark and need to know. Key OHA staff travel all across the country, including Canada, to host people, give away free t-shirts, and sign up people for Kapi'olani. Aulani Apoliona, sister to the Office of Hawaiian Chair, is one of these key staff. Apoliona always travels first class. Apoliona traveled to Arizona, California, Oregon, Washington, Texas, Canada, and Washington, D.C. For example, on November 17th in 2006, public trust funds paid $1,869 for her trip, one round trip to California. While there, OHA paid for a dinner, $2,068.80. Apoliona has used her credit card and her personal credit card to host meals for guests and to pay for trip expenses. On one trip, she was reimbursed $13,000, which included a dinner party at Tony Roma's in Texas. Let me just wait a moment here while the truck goes by. She was paid per diem on that trip of $2,436 to cover her expenses. These per diems were never reduced for the meals that she bought on the OHA credit card. Are these political junkets? Are these expenditures wasteful? Voters are in the dark and need to know. OHA as a state agency has spent millions on high-priced lobbyists in Washington, D.C. with no appreciable results. Is this what a state agency should be doing? Spending millions of dollars in this way? Voters are in the dark and need to know. OHA sponsored a public debate of the mayoral candidates recently because the voters need to know about the candidates' records and their vision for the future. Voters are in the dark about OHA and the questions I have raised, and they want answers. I challenge Chair Apoliona to a debate about her leadership and her actions in approving all of the expenditures I have discussed above, because she is OHA's Chief Procurement Officer. I believe OHA should financially sponsor a debate for all of the contested trustee races, should delegate the format and implementation of the debate to a neutral and reputable entity, and should have it televised on prime time in similar fashion to the recent mayoral debate last Tuesday. We simply cannot afford another 4 years of Apoliona's lack of leadership and outrageous spending as we have experienced over these last 6 years. We can and we must do better. Mahalo and aloha for coming.